to give a little bit of a talk. I can't remember what the title of this seminar is. I'm a member of the Te Koronga Steering Committee. I work at the Department of Marine Science, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about, I don't know, we'll see where we go. It's kind of a general ramble, and kind of a little bit is about me trying to work out why I do what I do, and where that comes from. And I don't tend to think about it that much, but having, actually, how are you, man? See. So I haven't seen Christina for a while. Welcome back. Have I seen you since you came back? I don't think so. Yeah. Anyhow, so I'll talk about my grandfather for a start. So my grandfather, I was born in Langiora. He was adopted. His mother couldn't look after him, so he was put on a farm, and he worked his ass off on that farm. And in the end, he went to World War II. He was a fighter pilot, and he flew combat in World War II for 4 years, which is a long time. So some of their life expectancy of pilots, I think it was something like 11 minutes or something like that at certain times. So it wasn't an easy job, but all Granddad would tell me about during his time flying Spitfires in the Mediterranean and Europe was stories about things like flying 600 miles in his Spitfire to collect mushrooms from the desert, or flying to 10,000 feet to cool beer so they could drink it when they're in the desert. Or this picture here. So my grandfather, this guy, big ears, very, very short, he's right behind that double bass right there. So they stole that from a nightclub in Cairo, and he said if they could have stolen the grand piano, but it was too heavy. Right, so when he came back, he was offered a farm, but he wasn't interested in farming. So he became a taxi driver, he became a meat hunter, he became an ambulance driver, he became an orderly in the hospital. And they weren't, my parents, my grandparents on that side, this is in Hanmer Springs at the hospital there, they weren't very well off. And to survive, they fished. Well, he fished and he hunted. And until he was very old, and he died when he was 94. After walking God knows how long on North Canterbury rivers, the Hurunui, the Clarence, the Hope, the Waia, all of these rivers, he fished. He probably knew better than almost anybody. He began fishing legally, I think in about the 50s, when the local ranger bought him a fishing rod because he was just poaching and shooting too many fish. So then he eventually became a ranger himself. So in a way, he taught us how to swear, how to fish, how to treat, when he was with us, I'm sure it wasn't like that in the early days, but how to treat things that when you're doing stuff like this, that's what you're doing. You're fishing, you're not drinking, you're not, posing for photographs, even though we do that with big heads and stuff like that. You're going out to enjoy the outdoors, but also to get food for the family. So he'd catch probably maybe 40 salmon a year, and all of them would be bottled by my grandmother. They'd always be there. That run of salmon became how my father's family survived. So, and that's been passed down. There's my grandfather in the Clarence River, where he spent a lot of time swearing and catching fish, shooting things, just being outside. He'd just go and do crazy stuff and walk for miles, just the hell of it, ride a motorcycle in the middle of nowhere. I don't know why. He'd just do it every day. Every day he'd go up. Sometimes, mainly after lunch quite often, but if he was on a serious mission, he'd go first thing and go out for a day, and my grandmother would always be there, to give him a feed afterwards. So he's a little guy. I don't know where my genes come from the other side, but, the fittest person I've ever met, amazing, and had a really good retirement, and I hope I have that. When you retire, go somewhere where you can walk a lot, and you'll live a long time. So this has been passed down through my family. There's my dad and my mum. That's my daughter Emily, and that's me, you can tell by the haircut. And that's us down in Rakiura, down on the wharf there, catching spotty. And there's Emily being extremely frightened of that spotty, as you can see. Here's a picture of Blake. He caught his first fish. This is down, I think it's Riwaka. I caught my first fish probably nearby, because I come from Nelson as well. And he was only 4 there. There's Emily with her first rat recently. And there's my wife Chris with the kids. So, I don't know, we've got a bit of a history of interacting with wild things out there and actually being involved. So it's really, really important to me, and I think it's important to my family, it's important to my brothers, my father, and my grandparents that passed on. I'm pretty sure I'm 6th generation South Islander. I'm pretty sure Chris and I are related, both by marriage and genetically. Sorry, but apparently it's all right to marry distant cousins, very distant. So, you know, we are, this is our place. This is actually our university, right? This one. You know, my father, he went to Canterbury and mother went to Canterbury, but I'm from Otago, and this is my university. So, ko mata o te awa, ko te kopawai te taniwha. So this is a picture of the Mata O. Well, it's not the Mata O anymore, it's Lake Dunstan. Why did they call it Lake Dunstan? Don't get if I know. Why didn't they call it after the taniwha from that place? I'm not sure. So, you know, in our school at Cromwell College, we had a big mural of kopawai, and we had two-headed dogs. I think it had a dog's head, and it's amazing mural and stuff like that. You know, we flew into Cromwell in about 1980 from Rarotonga, and we had a bit of a shock living in that place. And we lost quite a lot of what we had over in Rarotonga, but we gained some other things that I haven't worked out for a while. But the main thing I've gained from living in Cromwell is loss of places, loss of a place. And that place is there, and that's what's left of that place. And I'll talk to you about that later. And I think it had a much bigger effect on me than I ever thought it did. Sorry to make this about me, but hey, why not? Ko Araturu Te Tai. So Araturu, the coast, particularly the north coast here, has been really important to me. When I came to Dunedin in 1993, I was in university, I lived in North Dunedin, didn't have any idea. 1998, my little brother took me diving, and that was the big change, because we came from Rarotonga. The sea here is dark and scary. Once we got in there, we realised it's not that when we were kids, we were snorkeling in Rarotonga. So, Araturu, Te Tai, I think that includes also people that are from that area, and that's where I really connected in with local people. And I guess that there was some sort of, you know, nervousness about that, but because I came from a strong science background. But in the end, I realised that my foundations of my own family prepared me for that to some extent. So my process was focusing on kelp. Finished my undergrad, did a PhD in giant kelp at Harrington Point in Otago Harbour, and then extended out looking at other organisms and stuff like that. And I can see people from the lab I was in, Katja's here, and Daniel, who's more of a boy, isn't he, really? Not like us. Yeah, young lad who came through before us, and I don't think there's anyone else, seaweed people. Right. But a lot of us moved into broader sort of things. If you ever want to do marine do ecology, study seaweeds. They're stuck down, but they don't move. Trying to study things like whales, think about ecological principles, it's blooming hard. I don't know how they do it. Seaweeds are great, they just stay there. Plants are good too, very useful to learn from. So, and then eventually, it just happened naturally. I was working in the East Otago, Taupuri, didn't really know much about it, but done a number of years research up through there. And I got a postdoctoral fellowship to work. I was pretty frightened about it, I have to admit. I wasn't comfortable at all. And I have to admit, I came from Central Otago, and while Cromwell was probably the place of cultural enlightenment in Central Otago, because we had the dam, the guys from Turangi came down, so we had quite a mix. We had some really good teachers. Ross Paniora is a real good example of a really good teacher who I wasn't listening. I wish I'd listened more, but it just, you know what I mean? It wasn't, when you're kids there, it was all Metallica and driving, having black t-shirts on and going down to the river and throwing rocks at things. That's what we did. We didn't really think that much. I just played basketball, didn't think about much else. But I love fishing, and that's how I managed to connect. And I also know a little bit about rural communities and how you don't want to take yourself too seriously when you move into that situation, because they're going to get you. They know substance versus a front. right? I'm not saying I've got substance, but I try to follow through on what I say and what I do. I don't always, but when I say something, at the time, I want to do it, and if I don't do it, I'll think about it. So there's some things 10 years in my past that I haven't done yet, and I know I haven't done them, and there's things that remind me of them every day. So you can't move on, I think. It's one of the lessons I have. So I've pretty much gone through the process of a postdoc. Now I'm an academic at marine science, and now I'm involved in things like marine protection forums when I'm dealing with what we call stakeholders and the treaty partners, Kaitiaki, and trying to actually manage our marine environment so it's fair on people, their perceived rights looked after, their perceived property rights, which I find difficult, looked after, that we come up with some sort of consensus. And so people are not happy, but at least they have a place, and they have a place to continue their traditions and their practices. And I include commercial fishing in that, right? You might, when you go through, you might think, oh, Chris is real anti-commercial fishing. I'm not anti-commercial fishing. I want to have a nice commercial fishing fleet here that's local. We can buy fish from them. They have a sustainable fishery. They make good money, and they can hold, because that's how we learn. If we interact with the marine environment, we learn. If we lock it all up, how do we learn? We can't afford scientists. They're too expensive. Right, we're too expensive. We need people who are out there doing things, practitioners. Practitioners are so important. Scientists can only do things occasionally and hope to help. So yeah, this is the title, Using Ecology to Support Aspirations of Tangata Tiaki, Kaitiaki. So Tangata Tiaki, Kaitiaki, in this sense, are legislatively empowered customary managers, right? So they've actually got legislation behind them based on the Treaty of Waitangi that's been hard fought for to support their management and their aspirations of their community. So these two guys here, I know John Henry very, very well. Kevi Rayhana, I don't know him so well, but I've seen him. I know if I did something wrong, he'd probably beat the hell out of me. But see, here's two happy guys out there doing what they do. You know, why do we want to subject them to these dodgy characters in the background? Perry Sabritsky, he's probably looking for something there that he's going to maybe get a pinch. A scientist, Nigel Scott, with a terrible mo at that time, who's the manager that helps facilitate these guys, their aspirations. Why not just let them continue and be happy and fish and continue their traditions? Well, same with this guy here, Tiny Metzger from Bluff, Awarua, Arunanga. This guy here, and Katja could talk about him better than me, is Mr. Seaweed in New Zealand, right? The poha, the kelp bags, he holds those traditions. He's got so much knowledge, and very, very nice man. Why would we put him in a jet boat with these two idiots? Like Derek Richards and Rob Wynn with it's Movember, we're heading down to Waitutu to do some work. You know, why does he want to be associated with us? And then it gets worse. You know, we're going to start working with perhaps the biggest idiot, me, and you know, why? Why would they do that? Well, unfortunately, science has become a weapon. It's used against communities. So we need to use it for them as well. So this is a picture I drew, I must have had a lot of time back then as a postdoc, when we were fighting the port over the port dredging sedimentation thing. And we were getting piles of reports from oceanographers, and it was bullshit, right? Piles and piles of it. Someone like Pritchie over there, Daniel, hello Daniel, he'll go through it and understand these things. But most people are just like, oh, that sounds right, I can't read that, I don't understand it, it's a black box. That guy there looks, when he talks, in court, where he talks in a hearing, he's very convincing. But is that actually true? It could be true, but it could also be untrue, right? They're not telling a lie, but there could be alternative facts to what they're talking about. So this is a great, read and understand many boring, long-winded reports of perish. This will be lob there, that's quite good, lob. And this is the community. So as a scientist, we hope to take this off and start throwing some things back, right? So really, the way I think about things is very functional, right? It's not high level and aspirational, and we should have these. But at the moment, I'm needed. Daniel's needed. we're needed to go out and fight these fights until we have the right constructs and the attitude, and it's coming in this country, I'm sure of it, to actually accept what a community says and be able to assess well if they're talking, if what they're saying is bollocks or if it's true. It's a real important thing. You can say, oh, we want to listen to the community, we want to listen to people's knowledge and all that sort of. Whose knowledge do you listen to? And that's a real difficult thing. How do you ask people whether their knowledge is legit or not? You can't do that. It's just too rude. You know, in this country, you can't go up to someone and say, oh, so how do we know your knowledge? You know, that's like, but see you later. So, and at the same time, we don't have to worry about this too much because I'd like to run through things and perhaps you guys could abuse me or something like that or ask questions alternatively. There's all sorts of other stuff going on. Local catchment modification, port activities, global climate change, fishing. All these things are happening and you're trying to manage a local habitat. How the hell do you do that? It's very, very challenging. So we also have this. This is another thing I did when I was doing my postdoc. Man, I must have had time back then. So this is like a food web, right? The sun beats down on our lovely kelp forest. We have detrital pathways where bits of food drift off and things eat it. This is the main way that food is delivered in our coastal systems. We have grazers and herbivorous fish. And there's these interactions, all very, very complicated and we don't really understand. We don't. And they're all doing stuff to each other. And then there's us. We're pretty much having a go at everything, eating everything, eating seaweeds. We're probably detritus if we could, suspension feeders, all these different things. It's all fair game. This is, if you can't read that, this is a paper I've got in press. People and marine food webs, they do stuff. Who thunk it? That's going to nature. It's in nature. Do you believe me? And also the great thing about humans is we crap back on the environment again. So we're not only taking everywhere, we're not giving back good stuff, we're giving back not very good stuff. And you know, we are, you know, they talk about these things that integrate marine ecosystems and you do isotope studies and stuff like that. We should probably be looking at integration of people and perhaps taking a few samples off them and seeing how they go and do some mixing models. But anyhow, another thing I've done, so there's a lot of issues. Rose is here and she'll know all about this sort of stuff. You know, and I'm not going to say this, it's easy. It's very, very, very hard. People have different views, different property rights. People have done things in a certain way for a long time and they feel that practices that might be unsustainable can be continued. And it takes a while to start dealing with things like set nets, you know, dealing with fish dumping, trying to change systems, because we do have a lot of positives within our management system for our marine environment. You know, we say it's world leading, I don't know. It's good for some situations, and other things we're failing for good reasons in many cases because it's hard. So, but there's difficulties here. And the big solution everyone says is, oh, we'll just do ecosystem-based management approaches. So we'll manage the ecosystem as a whole. We'll understand these things. Systems analysis, cybermetric metrics. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. Energy, exergy? What's exergy? Energy, total production, biomass, mass flux, connectivity, percentage omnivory, predator-prey ratio. How are we going to get that? We don't even know the stock size of most of the fish that we catch. So this is the next step. This is what we're supposed to be moving to. Is this going to happen in 50, 100 years? What will the fisheries be like in 50, 100 years? What I'm really concerned about is that this is what's happening. So this is Sustainable Seas. I've got funding from it, so don't think I'm just beating up on Sustainable Seas. This social license to operate. I can't believe that someone would write something so ugly and write it down, you know, because it's obvious what it is, right? It's trying to get, it's not so much, is your process sustainable or something like that? It's trying to get the community alongside with you. It doesn't matter what's actually happening, as long as the community's happy and accepting of what you're doing. What does that sound like to me? It sounds like lies, it sounds like manipulation, it sounds like the tobacco industry, right? This comes from the mining industry, right? This is where this comes from. And maybe it's broader than that. I've read about it. There's other things going on, but why would you even go there? You know, just give someone like me the opportunity to stand up here and go, you know, I read a little bit about this project and, oh, it just hurts me when I read stuff like that we're funding that. Like, Why doesn't the industry fund their own bullshit brigade? You know, we don't need to do it. They can do that. They can fund it. They have the money, and they should be doing that. That's what they do. They should be thinking ahead, sustaining their business, manipulating the community into thinking what they're doing is good. That's saying it in a very ugly way, but it is. You manipulate people in positive ways too. So don't think. So the community, right? I'm not going to dumb down the community. There's a lot of smart people out there, right? But they don't know that much about the sea. When you go down here and you go for a walk on the shore like this, you're like, hey, that's a beautiful bit of coast. You know, that seems all good. So would someone think, oh, the port's dumping 7.2 million cubic metres of sediment just off the coast here, it's probably going to come on shore and smoke this? Would they think, oh, ocean acidification's occurring, it might destroy all the coralline algae in here? Oh, the light environment's being reduced, we could lose the kelp forest. Oh, there's mining occurring up the Waikouaiti River, there could be things being released from that. Oh, someone's decided to plant a really large amount of forestry up in the heads of some of these catchments. What's that going to do? It's not so bad with dairy here, but you know, those sort of things. A community, its perceptions, and if you're twisting what's happening, they're not going to know. The marine environment's the classic one. You can't see into it. You know, this looks beautiful, but it's being hammered. The Tawa fishery, this is a Kaitiaki, just the marae is just up the hill, being hammered, and we've seen it go down the Googler over the last 5 years. So, I don't know, this stuff does make me, I don't know if it's angry, it just pushes me into action. It's kind of what motivates me, I guess, in this work. I also love working on seaweeds and just working on how they work and operate and things like that. It's such a clean, beautiful place. Pure science is beautiful, right? For some reason, scientists manage to ruin it by hating each other, but it shouldn't be like that. It should be like, you know what I mean? It should be the most, that's why a lot of scientists are pushed into that place, because the battles you need to have when you're, I'm not saying they're not operating in the real world, that stuff's so important, but you know, when you're, fisheries in particular, and Rose could speak to this, but at no end I'm sure, fisheries in particular is rough. It's rough and ready, and people will say whatever they want. They'll say whatever they want about you at any time. And that's cool and refreshing in a way that you get sick of it sometimes, particularly when it's ill-informed. So we know that the sensitive margin between the land and ocean, it's a dump site. It's runoff from the land. It's really accessible to fishing, and it's degraded. That's really important. The vast majority of our fish come from those coastal waters. Here's some stuff from Matt Desmond. He managed to whip off a satellite, and just from the recent flood, you can see clouds raining. And then you can see sediment being released from our coast, right? Again, you can see those plumes coming out of, this is a tire, coming out along here. So when we talk about social license to operate, it still looks like this, but we haven't been able to dive in this bay for 3 months probably. I'm still waiting. Like we were supposed to go to Borrow. I'm texting one of my students, Hung, and she's like, she almost wants to cry because she wants to get out there and get her seaweed and start working. But we just can't do it. There's been a big slip there, you know, right there. It's just filthy. So, yeah, I really struggle with that. That's probably all I can say. Why is that being funded? This one, you're not going to be able to see from you. You just have to look at me. So there's that. There's the community. But then there's the worst thing of all is the people who know. The people who know there's something wrong. We might have social license to operate. 80% of the population might be, hey, this is all good. I'm going to vote back in whoever. Yeah, we've got social license to operate. Let's just keep going. But the people of Waikawa with their kanakana getting red spots and stuff all over them, dying, losing those practices, they're losing themselves, right? Those practices are them, I think. Pretty sure that's what binds them to that place, to Waikawa. Why would you be in Waikawa otherwise? It's so cold and terrible. So I hope no one's from Waikawa, but man, that place looks pretty breezy. I think that would be possibly the worst weather in New Zealand. I don't know, maybe. Anyone going to agree? Southlanders won't, they'll say it's like lovely down there. Yeah. The Opa Heat, where the guys went and did some work, I wasn't here. You know, like they're polluting the groundwater. They're taking all the water from their river. My grandfather fished here, right? This is the place my grandfather would fish. And he'd catch salmon in that river. run in there. You know, there used to be a big flow. They've taken all the water out of it. Now we're starting to get toxic, almost toxic levels of nitrates running off those things coming down. Is that right? Is it coming down that way, Pritchard?
Temecula, the northern purple part is terrible part.
Yeah, so it's coming through the groundwater. So those dairy farmers have got social license to operate. Whakaraupo and Koko Rarata. Now this has just been gazetted as a mātaitai. But when I sit in an environmental hearing with ECAN and hear a second generation Tangata Tiaki, his grandfather was the first, weep in front of the hearing judges about what was happening here, about them ripping the heart out of their area. This is all they have. Rapaki, like Ngāti Wheki, this is their world. There's a port in the middle of it. You know, they understand there's a port in the middle of it, and they're actually willing to accept it. But when does the rent get paid? You know, when do those communities be supported to sort out some of the stuff that's happened? So, you know, East Otago Taipuri, as I said before, it's got everything here, and so I won't. But again, you know, how does social license to operate help them? So the only solution I could possibly offer is trust and rules of thumb. I hate to say it, but we need to allow communities to manage their own areas, be it for better or for worse. It's better for them to stuff it up than Wellington, right? I've been in meetings with fisheries managers who have talked about how it's fine for them to manage the productive fisheries. We'll leave those other fisheries for the locals. I hope that attitude isn't strongly held up there, because that's just terrible. Because we're all local people, really, in a way. Somewhere, you've got to be a local somewhere, I hope. So this is a really good thing, and it's been around for ages. I shall suggest that in the future, fisheries management, I've said this a few times if you've been to my talk, sorry, but I think it's great. I love Daniel Paul. I think he's the man. Fisheries management and associated science will have to deal with places far more than they have in recent past. Indeed, I shall suggest that they will have to return, in many cases, to ancient modes of allocating fisheries resources to local communities rooted in physical places. A lot of this has been around learning from Indigenous people, capturing Mātauranga, you know, that sort of stuff. And I've never been comfortable there. I don't think it's good, and you know, we should be engaging with stuff and learning from it and using it in a way that's positive. But you know, I've got an ego, quite a big ego, I'm sure. I want to be offering something and actually have someone, when I walk into the room, say, Chris did something. He's helped us. I don't want to be someone who's like, oh, Chris used our information and it's great, it helps manage things generally, but I kind of feel like I haven't been acknowledged that well through what's happened. He's a good enough guy, but I don't know, I just feel a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know why. I don't want to be there. So what we've done, functional, I know, I'm a simple guy, we're simple people. We talk about service to Indigenous or local communities, anybody. I don't care who they are, as long as they're connected to that place and want to look after it. And that could be for fishing. It's not closing it up or anything like that. It's just trying to make that place better. And they've got those longer term views, 200-year views, or whatever it is, to say, you know, Brendan Platt, classic, very, very smart guy, said to me when we were up the Waikaiti River, he said to me, he goes, Chris, we'll only know if our community's healthy when this river is healthy and we can see it. We'll see in the river what our community's like. At the moment, it's not there. And Patty's at the back writing notes, and she's working really